The radio Bluetooth device is ready to connect.
Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. I think we can.
Sorry for. Yes, Maharaj.
Now who is hosting now? Salika Prabhu is not here.
Oh, he lost it. Okay, let me give him back. Okay, Salika Prabhu is hosting. Huh?
He's hosting. Okay. Amagyana Timiridasya Gyana Janashalakaya Chakshuramalitam Yena Tasmai Sangurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yukta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragnastam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Sri Vishakam Vitam Sya Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Niti Namine Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Sri Tadmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tetariti Namni Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namni Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvise Sasuya Vadi Pasachari Satarini Panchakalpataraviyascha Kripasindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namini Gauratrine Namaha Nityanando Vatutendur Vasudha Pranavalabha Janavir Jivita Patir Krishna Prema Pradaprabhu Padmavati Sutta Srimam Sachirananda Purvajaha Bhavam Mata Jagat Rakta Rakta Gora Kilevaraha Advaitam Harinadvaita Racharyam Bhakti Shamsanat Bhaktavataram Itam Shamarveta Acharya Ashraye Panchatattvamakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanabaya Nama Pankajamaline Nama Pankajanitraya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jaganitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopita Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Jayatam Srato Pango Mama Madrigat Madrigat Masapaswa Padambuja Radha Mandana Mohano Divya Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimaranagara Simhastanustao Sri Sri Radha Srila Govinda Deva Christiani Sevya Manusmarami Shrimam Rasa Rasaram Divam Sivata Tata Sita Karasan Venu Swanai Gopi Gopinata Sri Estunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Devi Krishnamai Proktam Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Mai Sarvam Kanti Samohini Paraha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum lagayate grim yakri patamahan vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramanam Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Akanda Mandala Karam Vyaptayena Characharam Tatpadam Dashitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So we shall glorify the six Goswamis of Vrindavan. As usual, before we start, Shastra Vicharina Kadipano Sarvastam Stapaka. Yes. Nana Shastra Vicharina Kadipano Sadharma.
Can you hear me?
Lokena Hita
Hare Krishna.
Salika Prabhu, we can hear you.
Radha Krishna Padara Vrinda Bhajanan Andena Matalika Ande Rupa Sanatana Raga Yuga Sri Jiva Gopalaka Ande Rupa Sanatana Raga Yuga Sri Jiva Gopalaka Ande Rupa Sanatana Raga Yuga Sri Jiva Gopalaka. Offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes. What is happening? You are not hearing?
Yeah, I was going to give the host to Salika Prabhu, and I've mistakenly given you the host, so you can give it to Salika Prabhu back. Hare Krishna.
You are giving it to me. So how do I give it to him?
Yes, Maharaj. Okay, participants.
Participants.
Yes.
I'm on a lecture conference Zoom call. Okay. Yeah. So participants, yes.
Yeah, so you highlight on Salika Prabhu.
Highlight on.
There is mute and.
Salika, okay. You have made me the host. I can see. Salika.
Yeah. I think it's gone out again.
I can see him on the list.
I think he has gone out again. His network might be disturbing him.
Oh.
Okay.
I hope that Maharaj give the host to another person. Like
Okay, Akinchana, you can
then
slide, so you can have it.
you give him the host. It's better, I think.
So who should I give it to?
You can give it to Mr.
Akinchana Prabhu having the slide. So give it to him. All right.
I should give it to who? Akinchana Prabhu?
Akinchana Prabhu. Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, so Prince Akim. So I hit on Prince Akim and do what next?
Yeah, you see more and mute and more. You click on more.
Okay, more.
So
Then it says
go down.
ask to start video. Oh. Make him host.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, so I click on that.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, do you want to change the host to Prince? Yes, it says yes. Okay, so he has become the host now.
Okay, I click Kamara, it's done. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I was trying to read the translation of the glorification of the six Goswamis. Sri Sad Goswami Astaka. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatt Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are well taken shelter of, because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. So yesterday we ended on slide 32. So today we are beginning from slide 33. So we'd like to welcome everyone to today's discussion. And hopefully we can finish this lesson today so that we can round up our Nectar devotion program next weekend. And for the essays, I think there are two essays. The first one is about the characteristics of your devotional service. I think it's in your handbooks. Characteristics of your devotional service. And the second one is about the 5 principles of devotional service, the 5 potent forms of devotional service. So there are questions in your handbook. If you check, you will see. So question 1 is on the 6 characteristics of your devotional service. Explain them. With example. And the second question is on the 5 potent forms of devotional service. So you find them in your handbook. Otherwise, I can also share with Prabhu, and he can listen to all of you. That is also there. So
Maharaj, please Maharaj, what we see in the student handbook, it is essay 1, question 1, and essay 8. I don't know if somebody see it like this again.
what is it? What is the question saying? It's not the characteristics of your devotional service.
Okay, actually, me, I have it. If somebody have his handbook in English, he can.
Hare Krishna. So anybody has a book?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Salika Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, I have the handbook with me.
Sorry.
In your own words, explain the meaning of your devotional service with reference to the Swarupa and Tatastha Laksana. From brothers' comment, examples, and specific Sanskrit words. What is that a question?
Can you read again?
Question 1 says, in your own words, explain the definition of your devotional service with reference to the Swarupa and Tatastha Laksana. Prabhupada's comment, examples, and Sanskrit words.
Hearing Sri Jagadananda Pandit's Prema Vivarta from the mouth of the elderly saintly Babaji, Vijay Kumar and Vajranath were overcome with spiritual love. For some moments, the saintly Babaji fell unconscious. Then, placing his arms around
I don't know.
Sorry, it was Srila Prima. I've muted in.
I see.
Yeah, I was reading from the Nectar of Devotion, Unit 4, Open Book Assessment Questions.
You are reading from the handbook.
Yes, madam. So maybe you give us the question number that you want us to solve, then we can pick from the number.
Okay. All right. I think the best thing is that I have to send it to Salika Prabhu and then he can share with you.
Okay, madam.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Okay, so can we see the slide? Can we see the slide 33? So slide 33 is saying, Srimad Bhagavatam, the ripened fruit on the Vedic tree. A tree is honored by the production of its fruit. For example, a mango tree is considered very valuable because it produces the king of all fruits, the mango. When the mango fruit becomes ripened, it is the greatest gift of that tree. And Srimad Bhagavatam is similarly held to be the ripened fruit of the Vedic tree. And as ripened fruit becomes more relishable when first touched by the beak of a parrot or shuka, Srimad Bhagavatam has become more relishable by being delivered through the transcendental mouth of Shukadev Goswami. So here the Srimad Bhagavatam is compared to a ripened fruit. We all know how tasty a ripened fruit is. When the fruit is not ripe, it tastes sour or bitter. But when the fruit is ripe, it tastes sweeter. So the Srimad Bhagavatam, because it is a narration of the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees, that is the sweetest thing to hear. The pastimes of Krishna and his devotees. Those pastimes, those activities are very relishable to hear. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is by the narrations of these wonderful pastimes of the Lord. And therefore, it is described as the ripening fruit of the Vedic literature. We also know that Srila Vyasadeva, the author of Srimad Bhagavatam, he had compiled all the Vedic literatures, but he was not feeling happy. He was feeling despondent. And then Narada Muni, his spiritual master, came by and diagnosed his sickness, diagnosed the cause of his despondency. He said, because he had not directly described the glorious activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, That was why he was feeling despondent. And therefore, Narada advised Srivas to write a literature directly describing the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so Srivas, he entered into meditation. And at the maturity of his meditation, then he wrote down this wonderful literature called the Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore it is said, Sarva Vedantam Saramhi Sri Bhagavatam Ishate Ta Rasa Mrita Taptasya Nayatrasyat Rakti Kavachit. The Srimad Bhagavatam is declared to be the essence of all Vedic philosophy. One who has felt satisfaction from his nectarian mellow will never be attracted by any type of literature. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of all the Vedic literatures. And anyone who has developed taste in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam will not be attracted to any other type of literature. Srimad Bhagavatam is also compared to the Ganges. Nimna Ganam Yata Ganga, Devanam Achito Yataha, Vaishnavam Yata Sambhu, Puranam Idam Tata. Just as the Ganges is the greatest of all rivers, and Lord Achyuta, the supreme among all deities, and Lord Shambhu, Lord Shiva, the greatest of all Vaishnavas, Srimad Bhagavatam is the greatest of all the Puranas, because it directly describes the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Srimad Bhagavatam is described as Amala Puranam. Sometimes it's described as Paramahamsam Samhita or Satvata Samhita. It is a scripture which are meant for very exalted souls. Paramahamsa Samhita means the scripture for Paramahamsas. Satvata Samhita means the scripture for the saintly people. Amalam Purana means it is the purest of the Puranas. So therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is such a wonderful scripture that it is said to be non-different from Krishna. When Krishna departed from this world back to his abode, immediately Srimad Bhagavatam arose. So therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam took the place of Krishna. As Krishna is leaving the planet, Srimad Bhagavatam became manifest in order to guide the people of this age, which is an age of darkness. So anyone who wants enlightenment in this age must take shelter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is why it is important to study Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, in this section, we are discussing the 5 most potent aspects of devotional service. Bhagavad Shravana, Nam, Achanam, Maturavas, and Sadhusanga. The 5 most potent forms of devotional service. With hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting the holy name, worshipping the deity, living in Mathura or a place where the Lord is worshipped, associating with the devotees. These are the 5 most potent forms of devotional service. So Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, is one of the most potent ways by which one can develop his Krishna consciousness. And that is why Srila Prabhupada instituted in his movement that every morning there should be Srimad Bhagavatam class. And devotees have to listen to this Srimad Bhagavatam. The next slide is still talking about Srimad Bhagavatam. Slide 24. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from devotees. Someone can read this.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Slide 34. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from devotees. So the devotee is sometimes called Bhagavatam, and the book which is in relationship with devotional service to the Supreme Lord is called Bhagavatam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended that in order to relate the real taste of Srimad Bhagavatam, one should take instruction from the person Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam. Sarada, we are doing some corrections. In order to relate the real taste of Srimad Bhagavatam, one should take instruction from the person Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is even by a liberated person. Sarada, should I wait?
You are reading now. Are you not reading? You are reading.
He's making some corrections. Okay, let me start over. So the devotee is sometimes called Bhagavatam, and the book which is in relationship with devotional service to the Supreme Lord is called Bhagavatam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended that in order to relate the real taste of Srimad Bhagavatam, one should take instruction from the person Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is relatable even by a liberated person. Sukadeva Goswami admitted that although he was liberated from within the very womb of his mother, it was only after realizing relation Srimad Bhagavatam that he became a great devotee. Thus, one who is desirous of advancing in Krishna consciousness should relate the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam through the discussion of the authorized devotees. Hare Krishna.
So, there are 2 types of Bhagavatams. The book Bhagavatam and the devotee Bhagavatam. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends that in order to relish the real taste of Srimad Bhagavatam, one should take instruction from the person Bhagavat or Bhagavatam. So that means that we cannot hear Srimad Bhagavatam from a non-devotee. In India, it's a common practice. We have this Bhagavad Sapta. Bhagavad Sapta is all over the whole place, where people gather and then they hear Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 days, from unqualified speakers, from people who are not Vaishnavas, from people who are non-devotees, such hearing will not produce any result. So therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is recommending here that we must hear Srimad Bhagavatam from a devotee, a Bhagavat. Then Bhagavatam becomes effective. Tava katamritam tapta jivanam kavibir idatam kalma sapaham Sravana mangalam shrimat atatam bhuvi grinanti ye bhurida janaha. The nectar of your words and the descriptions of your activities are the life and soul of those suffering in this material world. These narrations transmitted by learned sages eradicate one's sinful reactions and bestows good fortune upon whoever hears them. These narrations are broadcast all over the world and are filled with spiritual power. Certainly, those who spread the message of Godhead are most munificent. So, Srimad Bhagavatam narrates the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam describes the glorious activities of Krishna. And therefore, by hearing such narrations, one becomes purified. One's sinful reactions are all eradicated. And that bestows good fortune upon those who hear. And that is why it is said one must constantly hear Srimad Bhagavatam. One must constantly hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Because by such constant hearing, one is actually increasing his good fortune. But one can benefit from hearing only in the association of devotees. If one does not hear from devotees, if one hears from some other source, the potency of the message will be decreased. Because one who is not a devotee of the Lord cannot present the Lord. One who is not a pure devotee of the Lord, he does not carry the potency. He does not carry that empowerment to transmit the glories of the Lord. And so it is said that hearing Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of devotees is most effective. In the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned, Shatam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti hrit karna rasayana kata tat joshanat asu aparaga vatmani shradarati bhakti anukramashyati. That in the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed, and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. Until the anarthas are removed from the heart until the heart is free from contaminations. It is difficult to practice Krishna consciousness. But if one hears Srimad Bhagavatam in association of devotees, because it's pleasing to hear, pleasing to the heart, one can easily become free from the contaminations. One can be free from the anarthas and devotional service and devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead then begins. So hearing Bhagavatam in the association of devotees is highly recommended. And hearing Bhagavatam from non-devotees is not recommended. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says one should not hear the glories of the Lord from a non-devotee. He compares it to milk being touched by the lips of a serpent. When a serpent drinks milk, he also injects his poison into the milk. And if one drinks such a milk, his life will be terminated. Similarly, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from non-devotees will not bring us progress. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing glories of the Supreme Lord from non-devotees will actually bring disaster to our Bhakti Lata Beach, to the plant, the young plant of Bhakti we are trying to nourish. So therefore, one should endeavor to hear Bhagavatam from the right source. In the next slide, it talks about association. It says, yes, Prabhu.
Original. Barak, I wanted to ask. I quite remember when I joined the movement when I never laid hand on what's the name? Bhagavad Gita. I tried to download one from the internet. And I just typed Bhagavad Gita. By then I didn't know there's a version called as it is. So I only downloaded the Bhagavad Gita. And when I started reading the explanations and then the comments were something else until I came across the original Prabhupada's version, which is the as it is. So I wanted to know that the Srimad Bhagavatam, they also have other versions as in the case of the Bhagavad Gita. As you said, if you should hear the comment from non-devotees, it might have a negative repercussion on us. Yes. We have such comment, or is the same thing, but
there are many speakers in India who speak Srimad Bhagavatam, and there are many sites they also put up their Bhagavatams. They interpret them from the impersonal viewpoint. Just like the Bhagavad Gita, they are commenting on Bhagavad Gita, but they do not accept the supremacy of the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita. The Prabhupada says one who does not accept the supremacy of Krishna, he has no authority to comment on the Bhagavad Gita. But there are many Bhagavad Gitas in circulation that the authors do not accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if you don't accept Krishna, then what are you going to comment? What is your comment on that? So reading such Bhagavad Gitas will not produce Krishna Bhaktas. And that is why we see that even though there were so many Bhagavad Gitas in circulation, but until Srila Prabhupada brought out his Bhagavad Gita as it is, there were no devotees of Krishna around the world. Even though there were so many Bhagavad Gitas in circulation, because they do not speak about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They do not speak about the person who spoke the Bhagavad Gita. They hit Krishna from his word. And so when people read, they cannot get a message clear. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam, there are many people who speak Bhagavatam, but they are not devotees of Krishna. They are just professional speakers, professional reciters. And so such Bhagavatam is devoid of its purity, is devoid of its potency, because they do not accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, all their speeches have no potency. So there are many out there, but one should read the Bhagavatam translated by devotees, because they are doing it as a service to Krishna, and therefore Krishna makes it potent. But when they're writing their purports, translating with an envious attitude, they don't want to glorify Krishna. Krishna does not empower such people. And so whatever they write is as good as rubbish, because they are not empowered. So there are Bhagavatams written by people, and one should not read them. That's according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the next slide says, association acts like crystal stone. Somebody like to read this?
Association acts like crystal stone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
My dear son, association is very important. It acts just like a crystal stone, which will reflect anything which is put before it. Similarly, if we associate with the flower-like devotees of the Lord, and if our acts are crystal clear, then certainly the same action will be there. Another example given in this connection is that if a man is potent and if a woman is not diseased, then by their conjugation, there will be conception. In the same way, if the recipient of spiritual knowledge and the deliverer of spiritual knowledge are sincere and bona fide, there will be good results. This is quoted from Ari Bhakti Sudodaya.
Thank you very much. So this is the power of association. Association is very, very powerful. Tuliya yama levanapi naswagam napuno bhavam bhagava sangi sangasya marshanam kim utashisaha. The value of a moment's association with a devotee of the Lord cannot be compared to the attainment of heavenly planets or liberation from matter. And what to speak of worldly benedictions in the form of material prosperity, which are for those who are meant for that. So association determines our progress in Krishna consciousness. Actually, association determines everything else, even in the material world. Why do we go to school? because that is a place of learning. You cannot remain at home and become learned. You have to associate with those who are learned. So even to learn, we must go to school. So to advance in Krishna consciousness, we must associate with saintly people. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastrahaya. The first principle in Bhakti is that we must associate with devotees. Sadhu Sangha Adho. The first thing is Sadhu Sangha. Because only in association that one can begin to understand the process of Bhakti. So association alone determines our destiny. Association alone determines our destiny. If you associate with good people, you'll be influenced to become good. And if you associate with bad people, you'll be influenced to become bad. If you associate with spiritual advanced people, you'll be influenced to make advancement. And if you associate with less advanced people, you'll also be influenced likewise. So association is the key for spiritual advancement. And that is why Srila Prabhupada established these temples across the world. Srila Prabhupada said he was creating associations of devotees. These temples are associations where people can come and associate with devotees and learn the science of Bhakti. Because Bhakti cannot be practiced in isolation. Bhakti can be practiced among practitioners. So association determines our destiny. So one must choose. One must be very selective when it comes to association. One should not be whimsical about association, because whatever association that you choose, that will determine your future. And that we can see. And we have not met devotees, or we have not interacted with devotees, it would have been just impossible for us to take to this path. But because we met devotees, because we interacted with devotees, we read books written by devotees, we began the process of Bhakti. So everything is based on association. So association should be taken very seriously. The next thing talks about attachment to chanting the holy name. The next slide talks about chanting. Attachment to chanting the holy name. My dear king, if one is spontaneously attached to the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it is to be understood that he has attained the highest perfectional stage. So Shukadeva Goswami is talking to Parikshit Maharaj. That if one develops attachment to chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it should be understood that he has already attained the highest professional stage. Nam Sankirtan Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Samanas Tam Namami Harim Param. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Hari, The congregational chanting of whose holy names destroys all sinful reactions, and the offering of obeisances unto whom relieves all material suffering. Chanting the holy name of Krishna is very, very beneficial, because it raises the consciousness of the chanter, it purifies the life of the chanter, and it gives the highest gift, love of God. It is mentioned in the Chaitanya Charita, Aho Mahia Puradatam Amrita Harina Swayam Samudra Matana Kritwa Tata Koti Gunadikam. Oh, how wonderful it is. In ancient times, Sri Hari, in the form of Mohini Murti, personally awarded us Amrita. That was churned from the Garba ocean. But your holy name is superior to the Amrita that was given to us by Mohini Murti. So the holy name is considered a superior Amrita, a superior nectar, because the holy name gives prema. And prema is the highest goal of life. The residents of the spiritual world, they are enjoying because of this prema. They are relishing devotional service because of this prema. Everyone in the spiritual world has some prema for Krishna. And because of this prema, they are enjoying their devotional service to Krishna. So even the nectar that was obtained from churning the ocean of milk, and that was distributed among the demigods, that nectar cannot be compared to the holy name, because the holy name gives Krishna prem. The nectar only gives long life. It only gives some pleasure, but it does not give Krishna prem. The demigods, they drank the nectar, Amrita, but that does not mean they have become lovers of Krishna. But by chanting the holy names of Krishna, especially if one chants without offense, one chants the pure name, Sudanam, one can experience that gift called Krishna Prem. That is what we really want. That is what will satisfy us, Krishna Prem. And Krishna's name gives Krishna Prem. Especially in this age of Kali, Krishna's name gives Krishna's Prem. And that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to distribute the holy name. Krishna Bhavamritam Hi Yaha. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to distribute Krishna Bhavamrita, the holy name, the nectar of the holy name. He chanted it himself and he distributed it to everyone. So therefore, chanting the holy name is the greatest activity in this age. And anyone who is attached to chanting the holy name, it is understood that he has already attained the highest perfection in life. Right, says Hare Krishna.
I have a question which relates to the last slide and they're flowing into this one.
Okay.
It is mentioned in the scriptures and then emphatically in this in the last slide.
Yeah.
That when there is a potent recitation, presentation of the Srimad Bhagavatam or the Bhagavad Gita or any of the scriptures, it has the potency to purify the listener or the hearer. But the listener or the hearer also must be potent for it to activate. And there's a very nice example given in that of a man is potent and the woman is not diseased, it says. So now in our environment, for application's sake, for clarity on application, we've seen that in the development of our yatra in the early days, there was so much of involvement of Krishna consciousness. And there is a strong inflow of new bhaktas. The temples were lively. Nowadays, it is almost the opposite. Now, my question is that, how do we identify where the problem is? Because if the speaker is potent, it means definitely the listener is not potent. That is why there is no result. And if the listener is potent and the speaker is the listener is potent and there is no changes, it means that the speaker is not potent. So my question now is this: how do we identify where the problem lies in a kind of an environment that we find ourselves? Individually and collectively. I want you to put that, individually and collectively.
Well, there are many factors. There are many factors. It is a fact that both the speaker and the hearer, they must be qualified. Just as the example given, the man and the woman, both of them must be potent. If one is potent and the other is not, then there won't be any result. So similarly, if there is a potent speaker and there is no potent hearer, there will not be any result. And if there is a potent hearer and the speaker is not potent, again, the same result, no result. So that is a fact. So both parties must be there. Potent speaker, potent hearer, then results are bound to occur. So, you see, if you go back, when Srila Prabhupada was on the planet, many people were joining. Yeah, many people were joining. He had more than 5,000 disciples, Srila Prabhupada. And then, even after Prabhupada left, his disciples, they were still making a lot of devotees. In fact, all of us, we never met Srila Prabhupada, but we met his disciples. So the disciples were carrying that same potency, so to speak. And so they were effective in getting many people to join. And so the movement expanded and exploded. But today we are having a different scenario. see, there is what is called a generational issue. The generation that Srila Prabhupada met were a curious generation, spiritually curious generation. And we can also say our group, we are also spiritually very curious. But the present generation, even though some of them may be very curious, but their curiosity is not for spiritual development. Their curiosity is into IT, into science, into material development, material prosperity. So we can say that during Srila Prabhupada's time, the speaker and the listener were both potent. And so the result was marvelous. We can say that during Srila Prabhupada's disciples, when they took over the preaching, they also met with sincere following. They met a generation who were curious about spiritual life and wanted to do anything for their spiritual development. So also there was result. But for the last 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, it is actually a worldwide issue, except for India and probably Russia. Elsewhere in the world is a similar scenario. Less and less people are joining the temple. Less and less people are eager about Krishna consciousness. So our temples throughout the world are becoming empty, except for India and probably Russia. So we can say that the current generation are not very much into spiritual inquiries. And so even though they're hearing, but because they are not potent for hearing, it is not taking effect. Even our own children, we observe they are in that generation. And even though they have taken birth in Vaishnava families, even though they have had the opportunity to come so close to Krishna, but we can see that they have less interest in Krishna consciousness. So for me, I say that is a generational issue. That is one. And also the effect of Kali Yuga. As we progress in age, things become worse. That is also there. The effect of Kali Yuga is becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. And so you cannot find genuine people who want to genuinely take to Krishna consciousness. They want something that can, enhance their material situation and not spiritual life. And also, you see, in the past, the preaching was temple-centered. If you did not become a full-time devotee, you are not considered a serious person. You cannot say you are practicing Krishna consciousness without living in the temple. That's how Prabhupada started in America, and that's how it was spread throughout the world. So that condition compels people to move into the temple. Today is a different scenario. You can practice Krishna consciousness in your home. So it has moved from temple-based practice to community-based. So people can practice Krishna consciousness wherever they are. And there is no need for that temple-centered practice. And that is why our temples, we are no more making new devotees. So there are many factors. There are many factors that come into play. So India, they are still, because their culture, it is a culture in India to take to the renounced way of life. A lot of sadhus are there, so it is not something strange. But in the Western world, to live a life of a sadhu is rare. People want to practice, but they want to practice at a distance. And so that is why it has become now. And that is why things are so. We still have potent speakers, and of course, a few potent hearers. And so we have to find those people who want to hear and identify with Krishna consciousness. There are few, but we have to find them. So, and that is why the preaching has to be expanded. If we expand the preaching, we still have to find those few souls who want to give up everything and take to the preaching mission. Right now, we are not having that caliber of people who want to renounce everything and just take to preaching. That is no more there. And unless such class of people who want to give up everything and just take to Krishna consciousness, it is difficult to create the environment that was there 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. The people who came, they were just ready to give up everything else and join Srila Prabhupada, join Srila Prabhupada disciples, commit themselves, and just go for Krishna consciousness. Today is a different scenario. And so that is why the situation is so. I don't know.
Very much. Thank you very much. This is a very wonderful, beautiful way of answering this question. I really am very grateful for this answer. And my purpose of asking this question is because Bhakti Sastri and Bhakti Vibe and all of the systematic study of our scriptures are meant to develop new set of preachers that will affect the society. And my observation, personal observation, is that even though we have had so many people who have studied Bhakti Sastri, even in West Africa, I'm zeroing it down to West Africa because it applies to us. Apart from one devotee, a Katmanitai, I have not seen that kind of mood after the study of the scripture, after getting the certificate. I've not seen many coming out with that zeal of preaching. And we are bringing up another set of Bhakti Sastri students. And in my opinion, I think that we are coming towards the end of this section of Bhakti Sastri class. And my mood, I was thinking in my mind, that's why I was waiting for this particular point in this course to ask this question, because the purpose should be that after this, 15, 20 numbers of people who have joined this class should become another energy that will revive our preaching activities. Otherwise, if it becomes a situation whereby we graduated another 20 set of students and our preaching still remain where it is, then we have not achieved much. And that is why I want to ask one thing, more question, so that you can maybe probably elaborate, because you've answered the question very absolutely perfectly. And then any listener, I'm sure, will be very much 100% agreeable with what the presentation is. Now, my question is that in the face of these challenges that we have identified, that is the situation today, as an intended preacher who has studied the scriptures, what must be our approach to addressing, because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is supposed to last for 10,000 years. And the situation is not going to get better. As Kali, you mentioned clearly, Kali Yuga is advancing. So the situation will be getting worse and worse. And as the present generation, our duty is to be able to, Srila Prabhupada adapted his Krishna consciousness to the Western system in such a way that it captured the Westerners. And in our own present times, our mood should be that we should look at the environment, we should look at the circumstances, the nature of the people that are present in our own time, and then find a way to apply this philosophy in such a way that we will still be making devotees either outside or inside. So what would you think should be the mood of a preacher in our present dispensation, where we have this class of or generation of living entities? What should be the approach of a preacher?
Well, thank you very much, Prabhu. Actually, as you said, we are studying the Bhakti Sastri, we are studying Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Vedanta, Bhakti Sarvabhauma, so that we can be properly equipped with the knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Actually, Srila Prabhupada's desire was that his followers should study his books very nicely so that they can present. Actually, the whole program is to train preachers. So we should, our strategy should be how to make this knowledge more available for others. It's not that we learn the knowledge and we just keep it. We go through the course and we just forget about it. As you have observed, this is not good. Why are we putting so much effort into this? Because the idea is that by sharing this knowledge, by inspiring devotees to study these books, they can see the importance of Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, and they would want to share. That's the whole idea. So every student of Bhakti Shastri, every student of Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Vedanta, he must have a program for preaching. He must have some plan to preach. If you do not apply this knowledge, if you learn this knowledge and don't apply it, you'll forget it. That is for sure. Anything that is not used becomes redundant. So if you learn all this knowledge and you don't think of how to use it for the benefit of others, very soon you forget the whole thing. So I would say that each and every one of us studying Bhakti Shastri, we should be thinking, after I finish this course, how will I use it to help others come to Krishna consciousness? So you should be designing a program. It could be children's program, it could be women's program, it could be students' program, it could be some program. How you're going to apply it. And if we have this plan and we pray to Krishna, we pray to Guru to help us so that it can manifest, our plans can manifest, so that we can get some more people to know about Krishna, then that would be the best thing. We shouldn't just study these books and then when we finish, we get a certificate, done. We are now Bhakti Shastri graduates. We are now Bhakti Vaibhav graduates. We are now Bhakti Vedanta, Bhakti Sarvabhauma graduates. That's not enough. The whole idea is to know the science, to understand the philosophy, and to use it, to apply it, to help others to take to Krishna consciousness. So that should be at the back of our minds. So I think maybe this, your question, is generating some thought in me. Maybe at the end of the course, we should ask a question. Every Bhakti Shastri student should give us, you should write down his or her plan, how he intends to apply this knowledge. So it's like, yeah, so every Bhakti Shastri student should write down something. What is my plan after I finish this course? How am I going to use this knowledge? It should be the last paper, and CPREM is listening. It should be a last paper, last question. how we are going to make use of this knowledge so that we commit. So, Chetan, what do you want to say in this regard?
Hare Krishna, Dandava pronouns, all glories to you. Thank you very much for bringing us to this focal point, please. Yeah, this is the focal point of the whole issue. Thank you very much, Salika Prabhu. Yeah, the point is that I wanted to say that I wanted to announce that there will be a closing ceremony after the last exams. After the last exam, there will be a closing ceremony. And this is the fundamental question there. Okay. What is our plan to apply this, what we have learned? So that is the main thing. So this is just timely enough so that students should prepare ahead of time their plans after the program. So that is it. Because as we have said, the purpose is to learn how to be able to present this philosophy and represent. We have to present and represent. That's the purpose of Bhakti Sastri. How to be able to present this philosophy and represent it by our personal examples and by everything, bringing it to relevance in our daily life. This is the whole purpose of the thing. So that Krishna consciousness can really become Susukam, become joyful and give satisfaction that we don't want to look anywhere else for anything else. So this is it. So thank you very much for helping us to sharpen the focus, timely. Hare Krishna.
So that means every student will have to make a presentation, a short presentation, how he's going to use this knowledge. Every student.
Yes.
Graduating student.
Very, very good.
Right. I think Madarati. Madarati, can you ask a question?
Madarati, please kindly unmute and ask your question or comment.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, and happy new month to everyone in the group.
Haribol.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, I really appreciate the way you answered that Prabhu Salika's question. Prabhu Salika, I thank you very much for raising that point. It actually made me remember a lot that is going on here. Prabhu, you mentioned that when you asked the question, you mentioned that in India, majority of them are practicing this. But I came to discover that many of them that travel to the West, especially this part of the world, they try to drag us to their Maya instead of them accepting what we are presenting to them. They try to dodge from it or make us believe that they know it but they are practicing something else. So what do we do? How do we present this to them for them to understand? Because they don't just want to understand. They believe that they know it very well, but they are doing something else. Rather, they try to drag us to it, asking, oh, you want job, we'll give you work. But they know we are preaching. They know that we are in the temple, we have a service to do. They try to introduce us to work and raise money and then supporting us. So, Prabhu, how do we go about it?
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Actually, I've come across many Indians in Ghana, in Togo, different places. But they tell me in the face that we have left India looking for money. We have not come to we have not come to this country for Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. We have come here because we are looking for money. So that's what we are meant for. So I will say that if they can support the preaching mission, if they can support the establishment of temples, publishing of books, building of temples, if they can support us financially so that the preaching can pick up strongly, I think we'll appreciate that. Because those Indians living in India, very few of them will want to practice this Krishna consciousness as it is. And that is why we see very few of them actually chant, very few of them are following the principles, and very few of them really want to become devotees of Krishna. So the best way forward is to engage them, let them contribute, let them find some ways to support the project, and then Krishna being kind, in their next life, they can now practice fully. But if you go to the India itself, you find a lot of brahmacharis in the temples. That's what I was talking about, because it is their culture to renounce. So we see a lot of young brahmacharis joining the temples, 300 brahmacharis, 400 brahmacharis in the temple. Many college students, university students are renouncing their professions to join the movement. So there's an explosion going on in India because many of the youth are taken to Krishna consciousness. So they are catching them while they're young. But those who have already left the shores of India, they are already inclined. They want to make money, and nothing will change their mind. At best, they can make their money and they can chant Hare Krishna. So there are a few of them who will do like that. The majority of them are not ready to chant 16 rounds a day. They're not ready to even follow their 4 regulatory principles. So what we shall do is just try to engage them as much as possible so that they can help us with our preaching mission. And the more they can support, the better for us. 1 or 2 of them may join us in chanting or doing as we are doing, but we should not expect that a large number of them will chant Hare Krishna, and large number of them, if they just come to temple, participate in some program, that's enough. The main thing is they should give us the support, that financial support, so that we can push the preaching. If they are doing that, we should appreciate it. Okay, can we move?
Prabhu, thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
So we can move.
But we have to let them know that we have resolved to become devotees. So they should not try to re-employ us, plug us back into where they are. They should know the difference clearly. We have stood out to represent this movement, and they have failed to represent, even though that's what they're supposed to do. Therefore, they should support fully. We should preach to them not as advanced devotees, but we should preach to them as backers and people as comings who don't know what they're supposed to do. We respect them, but we have to stand firm to let them know that they don't know many things. And we are standing, doing what they are supposed to do. Therefore, on the basis of that, they should support us. Seriously. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, that's okay. Even Krishna Prabhupada, and I was listening to one lecture 2 days ago. He says, they were in the West, when you try to preach to an Indian fellow, he said, I know everything. I know Bhagavad Gita, I know Ramayana, I know Bhagavatam, but they know nothing because they don't know Krishna. But as you said, we should, if there is any way we can encourage them to support us, let them know this, we are doing their job. Mahaprabhu says, anybody who has taken birth in India, his first business is to know the science of Krishna and distribute it to others. They are not doing. So we are doing that, and so they should support us. That is true. So I think we have to move on, otherwise time will run against us. And today is Sunday. We cannot extend the time. So I think we are 37.
Yes.
37, yeah. Direct association with the Lord through chanting. Anyone who is engaged in chanting my transcendental name must be considered to be always associating with me. And I may tell you frankly that for such a devotee, I become easily purchased. Actually, there's no difference between Krishna's body, Krishna himself, Krishna's name, Krishna's pastimes. There is no difference. Deha dehira nama namire Krishna nahi bida. There is no difference between Krishna, between Krishna's body, between Krishna's name, between Krishna's activities. So anyone who is chanting the names of Krishna is actually associating with Krishna. Nama Krishna. Nama Chintamani Krishna. that by chanting Krishna's name, one experiences the presence of Krishna. Krishna is not different from his name. So, by this regular chanting of the holy name, we are actually associating with Krishna. So, when we chant japa, we are actually associating with Krishna, because Krishna is not different from his name. Binatvam, namino namaha. Binatvam. Krishna's name and Krishna, they are identical. So when we chant Krishna's names, we are actually associating with Krishna. When we chant Krishna's names, we are actually tasting the sweetness of Krishna. When we chant Krishna's names, we are actually experiencing the pastimes of Krishna. It is said that Krishna's names contains all the leelas, all the pastimes of Krishna. So anyone who is chanting Krishna's names is actually associating with Krishna. And that is why this japa is so important. A devotee has to do japa on daily basis, because we have to associate with Krishna on daily basis. And the more we associate with Krishna, the more we become purified. So therefore, the next slide, which is cleansing the dust from the heart. The next slide. Cleansing the dust from the heart. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended that everyone chant the Hare Krishna mantra just to cleanse the dust from the heart. If the dust of the heart is cleansed away, then one can actually understand the importance of the holy name. For persons who are not inclined to clean the dust from their hearts and who want to keep things as they are, it is not possible to derive the transcendental result of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. One should therefore be encouraged to develop his service attitude toward the Lord, help him to chant without any offense. To cleanse the heart, one must constantly hear. One must constantly associate with the holy name. That's why Lord Chaitanya told their devotees from Kuyagram, Krishna Nama Nirantara Yanara Yadane, say Vaishnava Shrestha's, that any person who is always chanting the holy name of the Lord is to be considered a first-class Vaishnava, and your duty is to serve his lotus feet. Cherito Darpana Marjanam, the Shishastikam says, Cherito Darpana Marjanam, by the process of chanting the holy names, one can purify the heart. So that person who is constantly chanting, that person who is always vibrating Krishna's names, he is directly associating with Krishna, and because Krishna is Apapa Vidam, Krishna is the purest of the pure. So by associating with Krishna, one can be cleansed of all the dust. So as we said, there are 5 potent forms of devotional service. Bhagavad Shravanam, Nam Rupa, Archana, Mathura Vas, and Sadhu Sangha. So the next item is the greatness of Mathura. That is 39, the greatness of Mathura. Who is that who will not agree to worship the land of Mathura? Mathura can deliver all the desires and ambitions of the fruity workers and of the salvationists who desire to become one with the Supreme Brahman. Certainly, Mathura will deliver the desires of the devotees who simply aspire to be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. In the Vedic literature, it is also stated How wonderful it is that simply by residing in Mathura, even for one day, one can achieve a transcendental loving attitude toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This land of Mathura must be more glorious than Vaikuntha Dham, the kingdom of God. Jayanti Tarani Putri Dharma Rajasa Swasayaha Kalayanti Mathuraya Shaksham Atiti Ganganum. All glories to Sri Yamuna, the daughter of the sun god and sister of Yamaraj. She is beloved of Krishna. She has made friends with Mathura and has exceeded the greatness of Ganga Devi. On pretext of being a river, she carries the nectar flowing from the lotus feet of Krishna. Yamuna Devi, who is a sister to Yamaraj, it is said that the mother of Yamaraj, she was not happy that her son is in charge of sentencing people to hell. So she desired something auspicious for her family. And so her daughter, Yamuna, is just the opposite of Yamaraj. Anybody who sees Yamaraj at the time of death, or the Yamadutas at the time of death, it means you have to go to Yamaloka. It means you have some sins to pay. You have some reactions to settle. But if one dies remembering Yamuna, or one dies with the water of Yamuna on his lips, one does not go to Yamaraj. One goes back home, back to Godhead. And this Yamuna, why is this so special? Because Krishna and his dear devotees, they swim in the Yamuna river. And so the dust of their lotus feet are all flowing in the Yamuna river. And the Yamuna river, where is it flowing through? If you go to Mathura, the Yamuna makes a lot of curves. Yamuna does not want to leave Mathura. Yamuna does not want to leave Vrindavan. So it is twisting itself, making loops here and there. When you travel within Mathura Mandala, you come across Yamuna in many places. In some places, Yamuna is just flowing straight. From Himalayas, it's flowing straight through Delhi. But when it entered the district of Mathura, it's not flowing straight. It is winding. It is twisting. It covers the whole of Mathura district, here and there. So it is said here that because of the greatness of Mathura, Yamuna is embracing Mathura Mandala. Yamuna is winding in the district of Mathura. He's making friends with Mathura. Why? Because Mathura is a very special place. And that makes Mathura very great. Besides being the birthplace of the Lord, Mathura is also embraced by this holy river, Yamuna Devi, which is very dear to Krishna and his associates. So that makes Mathura a very special place. That even if you will spend one night in Mathura, even especially during the month of Kartik, if you spend one night in Mathura, one is eligible to return home back to Godhead. Slide 40, becoming enchanted by the beauty of Krishna. My dear friend, if you still have any desire to enjoy the company of your friends within this material world, then don't look upon the form of Krishna, who is standing on the bank of Keshigat, a bathing place in Vrindavan. He is known as Govinda. His eyes are very enchanting. He is playing upon his flute, and on his head there is a peacock feather, and his whole body is illuminated by the moonlight in the sky. Krishna's beauty is indescribable. Krishna's beauty is inconceivable. Nobody sees Krishna and is not attracted. Even when we go around Sankirtan and people see the form of Krishna in a book, immediately they're attracted. And they will say, who is this lady? Because beauty is assigned to ladies. So as soon as they see Krishna's picture, they'll say, who is this lady? So everyone is attracted to Krishna's beauty. So it is said, Sundarya Aishwarya Madhurya Vrajendra Nandane Iha Adika Ulasa. When one compares the beauty, the opulence, the sweetness, and the intellectual pastimes of Vasudeva, the warrior, to Krishna, the cowherd boy, son of Nanda Maharaj, one sees that Krishna's attributes are more pleasant. So we have Vasudeva Krishna and we have Nandan Nandana Krishna. Vasudeva Krishna is Kshatriya, warrior, and Nandan Nandana Krishna is a cowherd boy. So the cowherd boy Krishna is the original form, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. And so his beauty is unlimited. Even the Vasudeva Krishna becomes attracted to the Nandan Nandana Krishna. It is said, even Vasudeva is agitated to see the sweetness of Govinda. Govindera Madhuri Deki Vasudevera Shobha. Se Madhuri Aswadite Opanjayan Lobaha. Even Vasudeva is agitated to see the sweetness of Govinda, and a transcendental greed awakens in him to enjoy that sweetness. So Vasudeva Krishna is attracted to the original form of the Lord, which is Nandan Nandanan Krishna, Braja Krishna. So, because that's the original form, so the sweetness, the beauty, the opulence is unlimited. And therefore, even the Vasudeva form develops a transcendental greed to enjoy the sweetness of Nandan Nandanan Krishna. It is said that Lakshmi is the wife, the consort of Narayan in Vaikuntha. But because of the sweetness of Krishna, Swayam Krishna Bhagavan, Lakshmi abandons the service of Narayan, and Lakshmi is performing austerities in Vrindavan, in Badiravan, just to get the association of Nandan Nandan Krishna. Lakshmi wants to be close to Krishna because of the sweetness of Krishna. Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, his pastimes are sweeter than that of Narayan. His pastimes are sweeter than all other incarnations. And therefore, Lakshmi is seeking the association of Krishna. So that is the sweetness, the beauty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The next verse, the next slide. Rupa Goswami advises. My dear foolish friend, I think that you have already heard some of the auspicious Srimad Bhagavatam, which decries seeking the result of fruitful activities, economic development, and liberation. I think that now it is certain that gradually the verses of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam describing the pastimes of the Lord will enter your ears and go into your heart. So, by associating with devotees and hearing from them, one would begin to understand the opulence of the Lord, especially the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam describes the very intimate pastimes of the Lord. And when those pastimes of the Lord enter the ears of the living entity, they create auspiciousness in the heart of the living entity. So Rupa Goswami is saying that I've already heard some of the auspicious, I think you already heard some of the auspicious Srimad Bhagavatam. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is just auspicious. And so, and especially hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto is most auspicious because those chapters simply concentrate on the pastimes of the Lord. And so by hearing the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the disease of the heart, Hrit Roga, the disease of the heart is cleansed. So Rupa Goswami is advising that one must hear Srimad Bhagavatam. One must hear the pastimes of the Lord. One must give oral reception to the wonderful pastimes of Krishna in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then one can be freed from this material affection that gives rise to fruitful activities, economic development, and liberation. That is the advice of Srila Rupa Goswami. The next slide says developing a higher taste. Developing a higher taste. Actually, Krishna consciousness means developing a higher taste. It is very astonishing that since I have seen this personality of Godhead, who is washed by the tears of my eyes, there is shivering of my body, and he has made me a failure in executing my material duties. Since seeing him, I cannot remain silent at home. I wish to go out to him always. So this is the attraction, the strong attraction one has when he experiences Krishna. Krishna consciousness means to experience Krishna. Without experiencing Krishna, how can we progress? And how can we experience Krishna? By hearing, by chanting, by remembering and by serving. So by hearing about Krishna, we can experience Krishna. By chanting Krishna's names, we can experience Krishna. By remembering Krishna's activities, we can experience Krishna. By rendering service to Krishna, we can experience Krishna. So this process of Krishna consciousness is a process of experiencing Krishna. So we have to go deeper into our practice to experience Krishna. When the chanting is done without any offense, one can experience Krishna. Prithu Maharaj is praying to Krishna for a boon of 1 million years. Similarly, Rupa Goswami is also praying for the same boon, 1 million years. Why? Because they are tasting the sweetness of Krishna's name, and the 2 years are not sufficient to drink the nectar produced from Krishna's name. Parikshit Maharaj is just hearing the narrations of Krishna from Shukadeva Goswami. He's hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadeva Goswami, and he forgot to eat, he forgot to drink, he forgot to sleep, he forgot all the demands of the body. How is that possible? Because he was drinking the nectar of Krishna consciousness, Amritam. So Krishna consciousness means developing a higher taste. The next slide, the glories and beauty of Mathura Mandala. I remember the Lord standing by the banks of the Yamuna River, so beautiful, amid the Kadamba trees, where many birds are chirping in the gardens. And these impressions are always giving me transcendental realization of the beauty and bliss. This feeling about Mathura Mandala and Vrindavan described by Rupa Goswami can actually be felt even by non-devotees. The places in the 168 square mile district of Mathura are so beautifully situated on the banks of the river Yamuna that anyone who goes there will never want to return to this material world. So Vrindavan is a beautiful place, especially when you tour all the 12 forests of Vrindavan, when you visit Govardhan, when you visit the various pastime places of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can feel the presence of the Lord in these places, especially when you go in the association of senior Vaishnavas, and they begin to narrate the pastimes of these places. One is given a chance to link up with the pastimes of the Lord in these holy places. Actually, it is said that Krishna is still in Mathura. Krishna is still in Vrindavan. Anyone who goes to Vrindavan, who goes to Mathura in the association of devotees and listens to the narrations of Krishna's activities in these places, he can feel the presence of Krishna. So therefore, Mathura remains beautiful. Mathura remains glorious. Vrindavan remains glorious because Krishna has never left Vrindavan. Krishna has never left Mathura. His presence is still there. But if one just buys a ticket and goes to Vrindavan or to Mathura, he may not feel it. If one is fortunate to find himself amongst pure devotees, exalted devotees, who narrate the activities of Krishna, the pastimes of Krishna in these areas, then one can actually feel a connection with those pastimes, a connection with those leelas, and one can begin to relish these activities. So Mathura and Vrindavan, they remain glorious because Krishna is still there, and many different devotees are still experiencing Krishna's presence in Vrindavan, in Mathura. Srila Prabhupada, when he was living in Radha Damodara temple, he would chant his japa till late hour, 1 o'clock. Sometimes Prabhupada will hear Krishna's flute, Krishna blowing the flute to attract the gopis. The pastimes of Krishna are still going on in Vrindavan. They are still going on in Mathura. But only exalted souls, they can perceive these things. So Mathura is glorious, Vrindavan is glorious, because the Lord is there and these pastimes are still going on. The next slide, 44. Statements about devotional service are not overestimations. Statements about devotional service are not overestimations. Somebody like to read this?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Statement about devotional service are not overestimations. In this statement about devotional service, sometimes it may appear that the results have been overestimated, but actually there is no overestimation. Some devotees, as revealed scriptures give evidence, have had immediate results by such associations. Although this is not possible for all, the Kumaras immediately became devotees simply by smelling the incense in the temple. Bilvamai Thakur simply heard about Krishna and immediately gave up his beautiful girlfriend and started out for Vrindavan, where he became a perfect Vaishnava. So these statements are not overestimations, nor are they stories. They are true for certain devotees and do not apply to all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So statements about devotional service are not overstatements. Sometimes we may hear these things and we say, these are not practical. They are practical. They are. It's not overstatements. Many devotees have experienced Krishna in different ways. Even I always say that even when we join Krishna consciousness in the beginning, Krishna revealed to us his form, his nature, his sweetness. Krishna reveals when somebody comes into Krishna consciousness for the first time, his taste for the holy name, his taste for the philosophy, his taste for prashadam, his taste for kirtan is different. Krishna reveals the glory of these things to the new devotee so that you can see that there is something here. You can see that there is potency in the practice of Krishna consciousness. Every devotee has some experience, especially in the beginning when we came. Krishna was so kind that he revealed to us the potency of bhakti. But as we progress, we become offensive, we become less attentive, and then we begin to lose that trend. So Krishna consciousness is not overestimations. It is true. that according to the degree of practice, according to the degree of sincerity, according to the degree of dedication, Krishna reveals. And so it may not apply to all, but some people are experiencing the bliss of chanting. Some people are experiencing the bliss of hearing. Some people are experiencing the bliss of preaching. Some people are experiencing the bliss of service of the deities. The deities are talking to people, even till today. We heard of the lady who had a dream, and Lord Jagannath appeared before him and said, please tell the temple president I want some mangoes. And the lady was not sure which temple is that. So the next day, Lord Jagannath came and showed the number of the temple. And so the lady dialed the temple, and the president picked the call, and he asked, what deities do you have in your temple? He said, I have Jagannath Baladi Subhadra in my temple. He said, Lord Jagannath says he needs mangoes. So different devotees are experiencing Krishna in different ways. It is not an overestimation, overstatement. No. We may not be on that platform, but others are experiencing the bliss of Krishna consciousness. So we need to deepen our practice. We need to become more sincere, more dedicated, more attentive to the process of Krishna consciousness. And then Krishna will reveal. As we surrender, as we become more sincere, Krishna also reciprocates with us. The whole practice of Krishna consciousness is a reciprocal system. The more we give to Krishna, the more Krishna gives us. The more we want to serve Krishna, the more Krishna reveals himself. The more we want to understand Krishna, the more Krishna makes that available. So each and every one of us, we are having our deal with Krishna based on what is in our minds and what is in our hearts. So the examples are given here. The Kumaras, they smell the flower, they smell the incense, the tulsi leaves that are offered to the Lord, and immediately they became Vaishnavas. Bhivamango Thakur heard about the glorious pastimes of Krishna. Immediately he gave up his attachment to his girlfriend and he left for Vrindavan and became exalted Vaishnava. So there are examples. Even in our present day, there are still people who Krishna has revealed their experience in Krishna. So it's not an overestimation. The next slide, 45, the qualification for engaging in devotional service is sincerity. Next slide, 45. Our time is up, but maybe, let's see whether we can do a few more slides. Qualification for engaging in devotional service is sincerity. Some scholars recommend that knowledge and renunciation are important factors for elevating oneself to devotional service, but actually that is not a fact. Actually, the cultivation of knowledge and renunciation, which are favorable for achieving a footing in Krishna consciousness, may be accepted in the beginning, but ultimately they may also come to be rejected. For devotional service is dependent on nothing other than the sentiment or desire for such service. It requires nothing more than sincerity. When the gopis went to see Krishna in Vrindavan, Krishna began to preach to them that, my dear gopis, better you go back home. Why are you coming here in the middle of this dark night to meet me? Go back home. So the gopis were bewildered because Krishna, he blew his flute. Krishna attracted the gopis by blowing the flute. And they responded to the flute music. They became attracted to the flute. But now When they came before Krishna, Krishna is rejecting them. Krishna is asking them to go back home. But actually, Krishna was simply testing their sincerity. Also, as mentioned in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Tasya Suduka Vaya Shoka Vinashta Buddher Hasta Chalatat Valayato Vyajanam Patapa. Now, while Krishna was joking with Rukmini Devi in Dwaraka, she was full of distress, fear, and lamentation. She had also lost her intelligence. She dropped her hand bangles and the fan she was using for fanning Krishna. Her hair became disarrayed and she fainted, fell suddenly, appearing like a banana tree knocked down by a high wind. So Krishna was speaking joking words with Rukmini. But Rukmini took Krishna's words very seriously. And because she took those words very seriously, she fainted. But Acharyas say that Krishna was simply testing the sincerity of Rukmini, just as he tested the sincerity of the gopis in Vrindavan. So everyone's sincerity will be tested by Krishna. Rukmini has her test, the gopis have their test, different devotees have their test. Everybody's sincerity will be tested by Krishna. So we should be ready for the test from Krishna. Krishna will definitely test our sincerity. Before Krishna will reveal himself to us, before Krishna will take us to the next level, he will test our sincerity. And the next, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, question, yeah.
Okay.
Krishna being all-knowing. You already know what we can do or what we cannot do. Why should he still test us?
Yes, he has to. Because you have to, you see, why is there exam? The teacher has taught the subject, but he has to see whether the student have imbibed the subject, have imbibed the knowledge. And so the test is there. Krishna knows. He is the super soul, Antriyami, seated in our hearts. He knows. But by that test, the devotee makes advancement. Actually, the whole thing is to pull us. Krishna is pushing us. Krishna is pulling us towards himself. So it is said that when there are challenges, when there are tests, when there are obstacles, they should actually be seen as Krishna's mercy. Krishna is using that situation to bring us closer. So the tests, obstacles are Krishna's way of pulling us closer. And that is why we even see the great devotees like the Pandavas. Krishna was right on the planet and they were going through so many challenges. Why? In fact, Narada Muni was surprised. Narada Muni said, this bewilders me, that you, the Pandavas, you are such great devotees of the Lord, and the Lord is right on the planet. Why are you going through all these tribulations? This is not fair. But then he said, what is amazing to me is that even though you are going through this tribulation, day is not decreasing. That is the most wonderful thing. So Krishna, he knows our challenges, he knows our difficulty, he knows our shortcomings, but still to pull us closer, to push us to make advancement, he still brings us the test. Because it's only the test that can make us to work towards passing. If there is no test, everybody will just relax. But when there is a test, then an exam, then we are forced to work towards the exam. So the same way, Krishna wants us to come closer. Krishna wants us to be his intimate associate, and therefore he gives us the test, he gives us the challenges, and by overcoming those challenges, we grow. We grow in our Krishna consciousness. So that's the reason.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Should we rather consider that one? Should we rather consider it as an invitation for making advancement or test?
Exactly. Exactly. It's an invitation. Challenges are invitations. Difficulties are invitations. Tests are invitations. Krishna is offering us an opportunity to come closer. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So let's quickly finish up. We are on 46. The Lord shows special favor and enlightens the devotee from within. 46. My dear Udava, for persons who are seriously engaged in my service, the cultivation of philosophical speculation, artificial renunciation are not very favorable. When a person becomes my devotee, automatically attains the fruits of renunciation of material enjoyment, and he gets sufficient knowledge to understand the absolute truth. That is the test of advancement in devotional service. A devotee cannot be in darkness because, excuse me, the Lord shows him special favor and enlightens him from within. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna makes this statement. Tesham evanu kampartam aham gyana jama tamaha. Nashayame adma bhavasto gyana dipena baswataha. That to show them special mercy, I dwelling in their heart, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So Krishna, he is within the heart of the devotee. And Krishna enlightens the devotee. That is Krishna's special mercy. He enlightens the devotee from within. But that has to be done based on affection. Sneha. Sneha vasahana kare swantantara achara. Lord Krishna's mercy depends on his affection. Being obliged by affection, Lord Krishna acts in a particular way. So when a devotee develops affection for Krishna, he attracts Krishna's mercy. Krishna goes where there is affection. Krishna is attracted to affection. So wherever there is affection for him, Krishna goes there. So when we develop affection for Krishna, we attract Krishna. And by attracting Krishna, Krishna shows his special mercy. So the criteria for attracting Krishna to show his mercy is that we must develop some affection for Krishna. 47. Slide 47 says, actual renunciation means rejecting things not offered to Krishna. That's slide 47. Actual renunciation means rejecting things not offered to Krishna. Srila Rupa Goswami recommends that one should not be attached to material sense enjoyment, but should accept everything enjoyable which is in relation to Krishna. For example, eating is necessary, and one wants some palatable dishes to satisfy his sense of taste. So in that case, for the satisfaction of Krishna, rather than for the satisfaction of the tongue, some palatable dishes may be prepared and offered to Krishna. Let the palatable dishes be prepared, but unless they are offered to Krishna, one should not accept them. This vow of rejecting anything which is not offered to Krishna is actually renunciation. And by such renunciation, one is able to satisfy the demands of the senses. In other words, we cannot avoid the basic needs of life. We have to eat. We have to sleep somewhere. We have to clothe ourselves. There are basic needs we cannot avoid. But those things should be done as service to Krishna. Therefore, Rupa Goswami says, Yukta Varagya Stiti Sabda Sakilaha. Shuksha Varagya Janani Sabha Nishe Dila. Proper renunciation is necessary. Dry renunciation should be avoided. Ananta Satya Vishayam Yataraham Opayunjantaha. Nirbanda Krishna Sambande Yuktam Varagyam Uchate. When one is not attached to anything but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of his relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. To preach the cult of Bhakti, one should seriously consider this verse. Whatever can be used in Krishna's service should never be rejected. We need money to build beautiful temples for Krishna, so one should not reject money. We need vehicles to travel and preach, so one should not reject vehicles, conveyances. Whatever is necessary for the propagation of Krishna consciousness, for expanding Krishna consciousness, it should never be rejected. If it is rejected, that is called Falgu Varagya. We have Yukta Varagya and we have Falgu Varagya. Falgu Varagya means incomplete, dry renunciation. That is the Mayavadis and the Gyanis. They practice Falgu Varagya. They reject things that can be used in Krishna's service. But in Yukta Varagya, we accept everything that can be used in Krishna's service. So the devotees are said to be better, they understand renunciation than anyone else, because everything is centered around Krishna. They accept everything in the service of Krishna. In the slide 48, it talks about the 9 processes of bhakti. The 9 processes of bhakti are so powerful to give the desired perfection. Srila Rupa Goswami affirms herein that there are 9 different kinds of devotional service, which are listed as hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshiping the deity in the temple, praying, carrying out orders, serving Krishna as a friend, and sacrificing everything for him. Each and every one of these processes is so powerful that if anyone follows even one single one of them, he can achieve the desired perfection without fail. And if you go to the next slide, which is slide 49, it gives examples of devotees who perfected themselves in the various angas of bhakti. There are concrete examples of how a devotee discharged one of these services and achieved perfection. King Parikshit achieved the desired goal of life simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukadeva Goswami achieved the desired goal of life simply by reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj became successful in devotional service by always remembering the Lord. Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, was successful by engaging herself in massaging the lotus feet of the Lord. King Prithu became successful by worshiping in the temple. Akura became successful by offering prayers. Hanuman became successful by rendering personal service to Lord Ramachandra. And Arjuna became successful by being a friend of Krishna. And of course, Bali Maharaj became successful simply by offering all of his possessions to Krishna. So these are the examples of the 9 processes of bhakti that Prahlad Maharaj recommends in the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So actually, our devotional activities are centered around these 9 processes. And then the last slide, which is 50, following in the footsteps of great devotees. The idea is that we should follow in the footsteps of great devotees. That's the last slide. Following in the footsteps of great devotees. The idea is that we should follow in the footsteps of great devotees. And we are unable to execute all the different items of devotional service. We must try to execute at least one of them as exemplified by previous acharyas. And we are engaged in the execution of all the items of devotional service as was Maharaj Ambarisha. Then the perfection of devotional service is guaranteed for each one of these items. With the first complete engagement, one becomes automatically detached from material contamination, and liberation becomes a maid servant of the devotee, as confirmed by Vivamangala Thakur. So, according to the deliberate opinion of the revealed scriptures, the spiritual master is not different from Krishna. Lord Krishna, in the form of the Acharya, delivers the devotee. And Rupa Goswami says, Sangatyaga Sato Vrite. Sato Vrite means to follow the footsteps of the Acharyas. One cannot be successful in spiritual life if one acts whimsically. One has to follow the instructions of the Acharyas. One has to follow the guidance of the Acharyas. One has to take to heart whatever he's receiving from the Acharyas. And by such activity, one is guaranteed of success in Krishna consciousness. And so this brings us to the end of this lesson 5. So next week, we'll try to finish the lesson 6 in 2 days, Saturday, Sunday, and then we will liberate everybody from this responsibility of every weekend. We have to be on Zoom to participate in the discussion of Bhakti Sastri. So if there are any comments or questions, they are welcome. Otherwise, we have fast spent 30 minutes plus to be able to finish this chapter, this lesson. So thank you for your tolerance. If there are no Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
What a nice class. Haribo.
Haribo, Haribo.
I want to ask you this one disturbing question.
Okay.
You see that all the things we discuss, we are in the heat of Kali Yuga, people are not following all the rest of them. But I still believe that the mercy of Srila Prabhupada is still with us.
Yeah.
Even though that his presence is not. So in my personal life, the key point of devotional service after everything we are saying here, I think we are coming to the end now, is a chanting of a Maha Mantra. Then this chanting, do you have any remedy whereby we can chant the melodies of the holy name and our mind will also follow or listen at least to it?
Yeah.
Because I believe that if we can pay attention to the mantra, the melodies of the holy name, we can achieve other things that is disturbing us in Krishna consciousness. Is there any remedy from your own side? Apply our mind in hearing the sweet nectar of this chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So you're asking me if there is any technique for training the mind on the holy name.
Exactly, Maharaj.
Yeah, so I can just repeat what I've heard from the Acharyas. And that is what I'm also trying to apply. You see, the mind is the problem. Actually, our material existence is caused by the mind. The Avanti Brahmana in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam says he does not blame anybody. He blames his mind.
Yes.
Yeah, the mind is the friend and the enemy of the living entity. The mind is our real challenge. So, the recommendation is that one should chant the holy name loudly enough for the mind to hear. One should try to concentrate on hearing the sound vibration. That is the most important thing in this practice of Krishna consciousness. The mind must be coerced to hear the holy name, because that sound vibration is what affects the mind. Mantra means to free the mind.
Yes.
So Krishna Maha Mantra is capable of freeing the mind. And when we do the japa very seriously, and in fact, one thing I noticed or observed is that when you chant all your rounds together at once, the effect is more than when you chant them in piecemeal. And that is why it's important for one to rise early and do the japa continuously, 1 hour, 1.5 hours, 2 hours, depending on your speed of chanting. The japa should be done, 16 rounds should be done all together at once. And one should endeavor to hear the sound vibration of the holy name. So long as we are hearing the holy name, the mind is also hearing. And it will take effect.
Exactly.
Yes, so these are first, program yourself to chant all your 16 rounds in one sitting. Rise up early, chant all your 16 rounds before 7 a.m. because the morning section of the day is suitable for the practice of sadhanas. The Brahma Muhurta hour ends around 7 o'clock, 6:37. So if you can chant your rounds before 7 o'clock, you'll get the full benefit. So just apply these few techniques. Chant all your rounds in one sitting, chant loud enough for the mind to hear, and chant all your rounds before 7 o'clock. At least the first 16, you can chant more later. But the basic 16, if you do it like this, you will see the effect of the mantra. That is the way I do my own. I finish my round before 7. I chant loud enough to hear.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So I think we can close from here. We meet again next week for our last part of the Nectar of Devotion.
Krishna Maharaj.
15 to 19. Now you read from 15 to 19. That's what we'll be discussing in the next lesson. Lesson 6 is 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So read those chapters. They are very short chapters.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
So we were looking forward to the essay so that we can start something.
Yeah, the essay. Let's see. A minute. I will read it for you. Let me read it. Let me read the essays. Let me read it. Let's see. Let's see.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. 1 minute. I want to read the essay title. What I have here, maybe it's different from what you have.
Yes, I'm thinking you should give them to Chaitanya Prima to send to the Swadhyaya platform.
Yeah, I'm coming. I'm just opening. I'm opening the page. What I have here says what? It says, describe the significance. Okay, this is the second one. It says, describe the significance of the 5 most important items of sadhana bhakti with reference to chapter 11 and 12 of Nectar Devotion. Discuss in your own words practical ways you could improve your practice of the 5 most important items of sadhana bhakti. So this also is a chance for you to figure out, to discuss how you improve your practice. So the 5 items are residing in Mathura, worshiping the deity, reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, serving the devotees, associating with devotees, and chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So this is the second question. Describe the significance of the 5 most important items of sadhana bhakti with reference to chapters 11 and 12 of Nectar Devotion. Discuss in your own words practical ways you could improve your practice of the 5 most important items of sadhana bhakti. This is personal application. So this is number 2. Number 1 is explain. This is actually question number 3. It says, explain in your own words each of the 6 characteristics of your devotional service and at what stage they manifest. Give appropriate reference to chapter 1 of the Nectar Devotion. So these are the 2 questions. So you can find them. I think there's a list of essays given. Find them. Explain in your own words each of the 6 characteristics of your devotion and at what stages they manifest. Give appropriate reference to chapter 1 of the Nectar Devotion. This is understanding. And the other one is personal application. The 5 potent forms of devotional service and how you can improve them in your life. So anyway, I can to Chaitanya Prem to put it on the Swadhyaya platform. Okay.
Thank you.
Page 84. Question 3 and question 8. Question 3 and question 8 on page 84.
Yes, question 3 and question 8. Yes. Yes.
Page 80 and
84.
85.
Is it clear? Is it clear now?
Yes, Maharaj. And Maharaj, you need an email where we are going to send the listing to.
You say?
We normally send it by mail. So if it is your mail, we are sending it to you after writing.
Okay, the essay.
Yes, Maharaj.
You send it to srivas.bts@gmail.com. Srivas, SRIVAS .bts, Bhakti Tita Swami, @gmail.com.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Lowercase.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, we think we don't give you a headache with all this. all this information, when it is be sent to Chaitanya Prema Prabhu, he will send it to the Sajaya platform, and then we will get them.
Okay, all right.
Because asking you directly all this question is giving you another headache again.
All right, I will send them to my Chaitanya Prema, and he will put it on the platform for you.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Okay,
all right,
thank you, devotees. Thank you very much, His Holiness, Vanacari, for your wonderful presentations. We are very much indebted and grateful to you for these classes. I'll request all of the devotees to please kindly unmute and let us loudly chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to appreciate.
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Rama, Hare Hare. Chai.
Thank you, Maharaj.
सर्वरक्षाकरं पुण्यं सर्वोपद्रवनाशनं सर्वसम्पत्करं चैव स्वर्गमोक्षप्रदायकं ज्ञात्वा नृसिंहं देवेशं हेमसिंहासनस्थितं विवृतास्यं त्रिनयनं शरदिन्दुसमप्रभं लक्ष्म्यालिङ्गितवामाङ्गं विभूतिनिरुपाश्रितं चतुर्भुजं कोमलाङ्गं स्वर्णकुण्डलशोभितं श्रियासुशोभितोरस्तं रत्नकेयूरमुद्रितं तप्तकाञ्चन सङ्काशं पीतनिर्मलवाससं इन्द्रादिसुरमौलिस्थस्फुरन्माणिक्यदीप्तिभिः विराजितपरद्वन्द्वं शङ्खचक्रादिहेतिभिः गरुत्मदा च विनयात् स्तूयमानं मुदान्वितं स्वरकमलसंवासं कृत्वा तोकवशं पते नृसिंहो मे चिरः पातु लोकरक्षात्मसम्भवः सर्वगोपीस्तम्भवासः पालं मे रक्षतु ध्वनिम् नृसिंहो मे दृशौ पातु सोमसूर्याग्निलोचनः मृतिं मे पातु हरिः मुनिवर्यासु दिक्प्रियः नासां मे सिंहनासस्तु मुखं लक्ष्मीमुखप्रियः सर्वविद्याधिपः पातो नृसिंहो रसनां मम वक्त्रं पाद्बिन्दुवदनः सदा प्रह्लादवन्दितः नरसिंहः पातु मे कण्ठं सन्धौ भूभरणान्तक दिव्यास्त्रशोभितभुजो नृसिंहः पातु मे भुजौ करौ मे देववरदो नृसिंहः पातु सर्वतः हृदयं योगिसाध्यश्च निवासं पातु मे हरिः मध्यं पातु हिरण्याक्ष वक्षकुक्षिधारणः नाभिं मे पातु हरिः स्वनाभि ब्रह्म संस्कृतः ब्रह्माण्डकोटयः कट्यां यस्यासौ पातु मे कटिं गुह्यं मे पातु गुह्यानां मन्त्राणां गुह्यरूपत् पूरो मनोभवः पातु दानुनी नररूपत् जङ्घे पातु धरा भारा हस्ता योऽसौ नृकेसरी सुरराज्यप्रदः पातु पादौ मे हरीश्वरः सहस्रशीर्षा पुरुषः पातु मे सर्वशस्तनुं महोग्रः पूर्वतः पातु महावीराग्रचोभितः महाविष्णुर्दक्षिणे तु महाज्वालस्तु नैऋतौ पश्चिमे पातु सर्वेषु दिशि मे सर्वतोमुखः नरसिंहः पातु वायव्यां सौम्यां भीषणविग्रहः ईशान्यां पातु भद्रो मे सर्वमङ्गलदायकः संसारभयदः पातु मृत्युर्मृत्युर्मृगेसरी इदं नरसिंहकवचं प्रह्लादमुखमण्डितम् भक्तिमान् यः पठे नित्यं सर्वपापैः प्रमुच्यते पुत्रवान् धनवान् लोके दीर्घायुरुपजायते यं यं कामयते कामं तं तं प्राप्नोत्य संशयम् सर्वत्र जयमाप्नोति सर्वत्र विजयं एव जयं लभेत् एकसंजं त्रिसंजं वा यः पठेन्यतो नरः सर्वमङ्गलमाङ्गल्यं मुक्तिं च विन्दति 32 सहस्राणि पठेत् शुद्धात्मविद्भिः कवचस्यास्य मन्त्रस्य मन्त्रसिद्धिप्रदायते अनेन मन्त्रराजेन कृत्वा भस्माभिमन्त्रणम् तिलकं विद्याद्यस्तु तस्य ग्रहभयं हरेत् त्रिवारं जपमानस्तु दत्तं भार्याभिमन्त्र्य च प्राशयेत्यं नरं मन्त्रं नृसिंहध्यानमाचरेत् तस्य रोगाः प्रणश्यन्ति ये तस्सु मुक्तिसम्भवा कवचं भक्ष्ये प्रभावेनोदितं पुरा सर्वरक्षाकरम्.
Hare Krishna. May the Lord give us protection and give us the power of retention. Thank you very much for being here. His grace is Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Salikaji. Pronouns.